My marriage used to be peaceful. It may not be a fairy tale love story, but it is a life that I have tried to preserve throughout 20 years. I am Eliza, a teacher dedicated to her work, a mother who wholeheartedly loves her 2 children. Trent, my husband, is an office worker, a man with ambition but has never shown it too much. We used to be a happy family. Everything changed that day my mother passed away. She had a traffic accident while on her way to the market. The police called me, and just a few hours later, I stood in the hospital, watching my mother take her last breath. Losing my mother was the biggest shock of my life. I can't believe she passed away so quickly. She is my biggest spiritual support. When I'm tired of work, when I argue with my husband, when I feel like I'm not good enough as a mother, she's always the one to listen and comfort me. Now I'm left with only emptiness. A few weeks later, I received a call from the insurance company. My mother left it a huge insurance sum. I don't know what to do with that money. I don't think about spending it, nor do I feel happy or relieved when I have it. It's just a soulless number in a bank account, unable to replace my mother. But Trent doesn't think so. He looked at that money with different eyes. One morning, as I was preparing breakfast for the family, Trent put down the newspaper and looked at me. "Have you ever thought about buying a new car?" I turned to look at him and didn't understand what he meant. "I don't need a new car. The car is still running well now, but it's not worth your position anymore." Trent smiled, took a sip of coffee. "I'm about to get promoted. I'll have to go meet the big boss, and I'll participate in more important events. If you keep driving this old car, people will think you're incompetent." I put down the pan and looked straight into his eyes. "Trent, are you serious?" "Of course. One Mercedes will be more suitable for your new image." I smirked. "One Mercedes? How much does it cost? $100,000? $150,000? He shrugged. "Investing in image is also part of success, Eliza." I shook my head, feeling overwhelming disappointment. "That money is not to buy a car. It is the children's future." Since that day, I noticed Trent begins to change. He tighter financial control than ever. "I record all my expenses here." He placed a thick notebook in front of me. "For what?" "We need to manage money better, to save, to invest in worthwhile things." I get it. He wants to save money to buy a car. The husband I once knew is slowly disappearing. Every time I buy something for my children, Trent looks at it carefully and asks me why I should buy it. Why buy new shirts? Old clothes can still be worn. Why do you order food from outside? Why don't you cook it yourself? Is extra tuition money for my child really necessary? I started to feel tired. For the first time in 20 years of marriage, I realized I don't trust my husband anymore, but I still tried to endure. I thought maybe he was under work pressure. I thought I could talk to him and change his way of thinking. I was wrong. After a long and stressful week, my school held a party for a 3-day training session. I joined because I wanted to take a break from family tensions. 3 days is not long, but enough for me to calm down a bit. But when I returned, everything changed. As soon as my car drove into the gate, I saw a strange car in the garage. There can be no mistake. A brand new Mercedes. I was stunned. My heart was pounding as I entered the house. Trent sat there, comfortably pouring wine into a glass, resting his feet on the table, his mouth curled into a complacent smile. "Surprised?" I clench your hands, trying to stay calm. "Trent, what is that car?" "I bought it," he answered simply as if I had just asked about the weather. "Where is the money?" I growled. Trent shrugged. "I borrowed it." "Are you mad? We have 2 children to worry about. Do you know what you just did? I'm no longer an employee, Eliza. I'm going up. If you don't invest in your image, who will respect you?" I looked at the man in front of me. This is not the man I married. That evening I couldn't sleep. For the first time in 20 years, I felt his marriage is facing the abyss. I thought that was the worst. But I didn't know that the real storm had not yet come. 1 month later, Trent was arrested right at the company. That day, I was standing in the teacher's room when I received a call from one of Trent's colleagues. Her voice was panicked. "Eliza, the police just arrested Trent." I almost dropped the phone. "What?" "He was accused of embezzlement of construction materials, forging signatures and signing false documents. They said there was enough evidence to convict." I can't breathe. Immediately, I drove to Trent's company, and I saw a sight that I will never forget. Trent was handcuffed by the police, his face drained of blood. He saw me and screamed, "Eliza, help me, I'm trapped." I didn't do anything. I stood there and couldn't say a word. Turns out that Mercedes was just the beginning of the tragedy. Spectacle Trent was handcuffed right in front of the company gate and kept haunting me. His unjust words echoed in my head all the way home. I can't believe this is actually happening. The man I once loved and lived with for 20 years, the person I once placed all my trust in, has now become a criminal under investigation for embezzlement. I sat down on the chair, my hands shaking. Everything was too much to bear. How did things turn out like this? Just within a week, news of the scandal of embezzlement of construction materials was everywhere. Trent's big bosses all disappeared, and he, an investment manager who had just been promoted 1 month, was pulled into action against the person responsible. I started reading articles, learning more about the incident. What did Trent do? How was he trapped? According to the investigation, all fake documents, all due. Trent signed it directly. Transactions of buying and selling materials at exorbitant prices has his signature, while senior leaders left no trace. Now it's too late to realize. Trent is just a pawn. I visualize those times again he goes drinking with bosses, times when returning home drunk, the times he bragged about being trusted with big contracts. Turns out, it's all just a trap. They get him promoted quickly, giving him a feeling of being used, then taking advantage of greed for fame to turn him into the one who takes the blame. And Trent innocently jumped in without knowing it. But what makes me most stunned, not that Trent was captured, it's what happens after that. After only a few days of detention, I received a series of letters from Trent. "Eliza, you have to believe me. You are wronged. You don't know anything about those papers. You did everything for your family, for our future. Don't leave me alone. Please find a way to save me from here." Every letter is lengthy, filled with pleas and oaths. I decided to burn it all, but then I still opened each letter and read it. I want to know what he is thinking. Does he really regret it? But the more I read, the more I feel cold. In every letter, Trent points out everything that blames others, never once taking responsibility for himself. He blamed the bosses set a trap, blamed the company has betrayed, blamed the law is not fair, but absolutely no mention of family, no apology from me, not the least bit remorseful for what he did. I choked. Maybe this is the time I should let go of hope, but I don't know that yet. The worst nightmare is still waiting for me. I returned home after a long, tiring day of work, my mind still reeling from all the paperwork at school. As soon as I entered the yard, I saw it. A strange woman standing in front of my house. She is holding a child about 6 years old. I frowned and moved closer. "Who are you?" The woman looked at me, her eyes full of challenge. "I am Amanda, and this child is Trent's son." I was stunned. "I can't breathe. What did you say?" Amanda raised her face and smiled contemptuously. "Trent didn't say anything to you. We have been together for 6 years already. This is his son. Now that Trent is in prison, who will take care of him?" I couldn't believe my ears. "Trent, having an affair? 6 years, and have children of your own?" I looked at the child, a small boy with blue eyes just like Trent's. Everything in front of me seemed to collapse. But Amanda didn't stop there. "I don't care if you accept it or not, but Trent has gone to jail. The responsibility is now on you. I want you to give me money. Let me raise the boy. If not, I'll leave it here, and you will have to feed it to replace Trent." I clenched my fist. I thought that I had suffered until the end, but it turns out I am still too naive. I raised my head and looked straight into Amanda's eyes. "Listen here. I have no obligation to take care of this child. If you need money, take care of it yourself. Trent betrayed me, and now you too. Don't ever appear in front of me again." I turned back into the house, slamming the door. My tears fell, not because I still loved Trent, but for me, I didn't expect that I would be stupid enough to trust him all these years. That night, I sat in front of my desk, quietly writing a divorce petition. There's nothing left to save anymore. There's nothing left to regret. My marriage died a long time ago. I'm just the last person to accept that truth. The next day, I called a lawyer. I want a divorce. I heard Claire's voice, my lawyer, speak decisively on the other end of the line. "Sister Eliza, I've been waiting for this from you for a long time. I thought this was the end. But when I went to court, I realized Trent still has one last attack for me." I entered the courtroom. My heart was cold as ice. I have prepared for this day. Divorcing Trent is not simple. He did not simply accept to let go, but also turned the trial into a dramatic tragedy. I thought I would simply leave, but no, Trent never gave up so easily. When Trent was brought into the courtroom, I saw his cold and cruelness. He lost weight, thinner than before, but his eyes are still full. "Eliza, you're such a cruel woman." He smirked as he sat down, his voice full of provocation. "I haven't been in prison long and you've already hastily filed for divorce. Are you going to leave me to slowly rot in there?" I smirked. "You were arrested because of what you did, which has nothing to do with me. And don't forget, you betrayed me for the past 6 years. Do you still have the face to sit here and blame me?" Trent gritted his teeth, but he has yet to deliver his strongest blow. Transparent first 2 hours. Trent's lawyer repeatedly swirl into a single point. I abandoned my husband when he was in trouble. Trent pretended suffering, despair, constantly talking about me heartless, callous, and not thinking about his family. She received a huge insurance payout after her mother passed away, and from then on began to change. She no longer valued marriage, no longer considered me her husband. She just wants a divorce to keep all her assets for herself. I was so angry that I was shaking. Does he really dare to do this? I clenched my fists, trying to stay calm. Yes, I have money, but I never thought about throwing him away. It was Trent who was the traitor. I took a deep breath. Your Honor, the defendant says that I am cruel, that I am a marriage betrayer, but please let me present some important evidence. My lawyer put a file on the table. In it is all evidence of Trent's infidelity over the past 6 years. Text messages between Trent and Amanda, full of sweet words and secret date plans. Hotel bill. The times Trent went on business trips, but was actually to see her. Copy of the 6-year-old child's birth certificate, with Trent's name in the father section. The whole courtroom is silent as a sheet. Trent, pale, panicked eyes. You said I changed after having money, but in reality you betrayed me long before that. You had a child with someone else, lied to me for 6 years, and now you sit here playing the victim. The whole courtroom exploded. Everyone started whispering. I saw some of Trent's family members bow to your face, didn't dare look at me. His parents also knew this, but they chose to stay silent. So, do you have anything else to say, Trent? Trent said nothing, because he knows everything is over. After several hours of trial, the court declared that I had full custody of my children. Defendant Trent has committed adultery and cheated on his wife for many years, so the plaintiff's divorce petition is fully approved. All assets belong to the plaintiff. I let out a long breath. I won, but this victory doesn't make me happy, just makes me feel relieved. Trent sat there, lost everything. Career, lost honor, destructive, family, abandoned by wife and children. I looked at him one last time. Goodbye, Trent. I hope you spend the rest of your life thinking about what you've done. Then I turned and left, never to look back again. After the divorce, I moved into one new apartment with 2 children. For the first time in many years, I felt free. There's no one left control me, track every expense. There is no one left to dictate what I should do with my life. I come back with teaching work, spend time taking care of children, and enjoy peaceful moments. Lucas and Sophie, my 2 children, gradually became happy again. Mum, we won't have to worry about Dad anymore, right? I smiled. That's right. Everything is over. I know I made the right decision. No matter how difficult it is, I still believe I did what I needed to do to protect myself and my children. I thought I would never hear from Trent again. But then, a few months later, I received a letter from prison. Not from Trent, which from Amanda. Eliza, I don't know what to do anymore. Trent has completely lost his mind in prison. He still thinks that you will come back to him. He refuses to accept the truth. I also can't continue to raise my child alone. Please, help me. I tore up that letter immediately. I don't care anymore. Trent ruined his own life, and now I just want to live my own life. I stood up, opened the window, letting the warm sunlight flood into the room. A new chapter in my life has just begun. I never thought I would be able to return to a normal life after everything that happened. But then, I realized life continues, whether I'm ready or not. I have no time to look back on the past, no reason to cry over the losses. I have 2 children who need me, and most of all, I have myself to protect. After the divorce, my 2 children and I moved to a smaller apartment. No more large villas, no more garages full of expensive cars, no more lavish parties where I never felt like I belonged. But that is not important, because for the first time in many years, I am in control of your life. No one asks me to report every expense anymore. No one criticizes me anymore for my choices. No one forces me to live up to their standards anymore. It's just me and my 2 kids, starting a new life together. Lucas and Sophie, my 2 children, suffered the most damage from this divorce. I was afraid that they would hate me for divorcing their father, but no. One day while we were having dinner, Lucas suddenly hesitantly spoke up. Mom, I think you did the right thing. Before, I always felt stressed when Dad was home. I don't know why, but I always had to be careful with what I said to avoid making Dad angry. I stopped, looked at the child in surprise. Sophie nodded in agreement. I feel a lot more comfortable now. Mum is no longer sad, and we no longer have to be afraid when Dad gets angry. Your words make me cry. I used to think that I'm at fault for breaking up the family, but it turns out divorce is not the end. It is liberation for all of us. Trent still hasn't let go. I thought it was all over after the divorce trial, but I was wrong. Trent, despite being in prison, still don't accept the truth. His letters began to become more frequent. Initially, they were prayers and regrets. Eliza, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me. I can't live without you and the children. But when I didn't answer, the tone changed. Do you think you can leave me? You will regret it. No one can leave me alone and live in peace. And then, one day, I received a letter from Trent's lawyer. He wants to appeal. He blamed me for his downfall. He wants to fight for visitation rights. I feel my blood seems to boil. This man lied to me, betrayed me, used me, and now he wants to play the role of a good father. I won't let that happen. I am no longer a weak woman. Court date again. I no longer feel scared like before. I entered the courtroom with a posture erect, head held high. I'm no longer the woman who trembles in fear every time Trent threatens me. I know what I'm fighting for. I fight to protect my children. I fight to protect myself. My lawyer calmly present all evidence in court. Trent's threatening messages, the times he sent insulting letters to me. Lucas and Sophie's medical records show Trent's negative psychological impact on them. The judge looked at me, then at Trent, before giving his verdict. Defendant Trent is denied visitation rights. All contact between the defendant and the two children will have to go through the plaintiff's attorney. I win. This time I don't feel relieved. I feel stronger than ever. A few months after the trial, I haven't heard from Trent again. He has officially disappeared from my life. No more threatening letters. No more desperate attempts to hold on. Only the peace that I have longed for so long. One day, I received a call from my lawyer. Eliza, I thought you would want to know this. Trent has been transferred to a higher security prison because of violent behavior in prison. He won't be getting out anytime soon. I close your eyes and let out a long breath. Finally, the real me is free. 1 year after the divorce, I completely changed. I returned to teaching, but this time I'm not simply a teacher. I am a free woman, in control of my life. I spend more time with my children, take them traveling, and explore the world. I no longer live in fear. I learn to love yourself more. One day, while sitting on the sofa reading a book, Lucas walked up and hugged me. Mum, I've never seen you as happy as you are now. I smile, pull your child into your arms. Because I found my freedom, Lucas. Life is no longer perfect like before, but it is truly mine, and that's the most important thing. Life after divorce is not a road full of roses, but at least it is a path I chose myself. I no longer have to walk the paths that Trent outlined. No more sleepless nights worrying that tomorrow he'll be angry again about something ridiculous. No more having to secretly save money in case the worst happens. No one controls my life anymore. For the first time in many years, I really feel free. After the court ruled that custody belonged to me and my 2 children officially started a new life. We don't have a large villa like before, but this small apartment is much warmer. I decorated it with pictures drawn by the 2 children. Together we chose furniture and arranged each small corner of the house. Little by little, we turned this place into a real home. There was no longer any tension in the air when Trent appeared. No more fear every time I check my bank account. No more silent and stressful dinners. Now, every meal we have is filled with laughter. Sophie often talks about funny stories at school. Lucas eagerly discusses future plans. I listen to it all, enjoying every moment. Happiness is not living in a large house, but living with people who truly love you. After settling down, I decided to return to a teaching career. But this time, I am not just a simple classroom teacher. I want to help other women, those who have been in the same situation as me. So I started organizing sharing sessions on finance and legal rights for women. I use my own story to help them understand that no one has the right to control your life but yourself. The talks attract more and more participants. Many women came to me and told me about their lives, controlling marriages, patriarchal husbands, fears they didn't dare speak out. I see myself in them. I help them with financial planning, guide them in seeking legal assistance, and most importantly, help them regain lost confidence. I never thought I would go on this path, but now I know this is exactly what I need to do. I'm not just rebuilding my life, I'm helping other women rebuild their lives. Even though I tried to move on, the past always found a way to return. One day, I received a letter from prison. Sender, Trent. Eliza, I know you still hate me, but please, think of our children. Let me meet them. He thought a lot in prison. I know I was wrong. I miss you. I miss our family. Please give me a chance. I beg you. I clutch the paper tightly, with mixed emotions. Part of me wants to believe that he has changed, but the rest reminds me that Trent has never truly apologized. He always tries to take advantage of others, and I won't let that happen again. I tore up the letter and threw it in the trash. Trent is no longer my problem. I used to think that children would need both parents. But Lucas and Sophie never felt deprived. They have a strong mother, a mother who is willing to protect them to the end. One evening, Lucas suddenly told me, "Mom, do you think that one day you will love again?" The question made me pause. I never thought about that. Love? Marriage? After everything I've been through, I don't believe in any of that anymore. But then Sophie said softly, "I just hope you find someone who truly loves you, like you love us." I looked at the two children, then smiled. Maybe one day I will open my heart again, but for now, I am happy to have you two by my side. They smiled, then hugged me tightly. I don't need a man to feel happy. I just need myself and my two children. 1 year after the divorce, my life changed completely. I have a meaningful job. I have 2 wonderful children. I have a small house but full of love, and most importantly, I have myself, a woman who is strong, independent, and no longer bound by the past. I've lost a lot of things, but I also found myself again, and that is worth more than anything. My life and my children have become much more stable. Sophie has just turned 16 and is starting to have big dreams for the future. Lucas is growing up, about to enter college, and is always a strong support for his mother and younger sister. We are not as rich as before, but we have each other. No more days of living in fear. No more sleepless nights worrying about the future. There is only peace, love, and freedom. I never thought I could stand after all that happened, but now I have proven I can do it all myself. One day, when I had just finished teaching at school, I received a call from Trent's lawyer. The voice on the other side rang out, full of caution. "Eliza, can you come see Trent once? He wants to talk to you." I smiled faintly. What else does he have to say to me? I think it's over. But then the lawyer continued, in a more serious tone. "Trent is sick, a serious form of liver disease. He doesn't have much time left." I was stunned. Trent, the man who ruined my life, is now on the brink of death? I don't know how I feel. I wasn't as angry as before, but no compassion emerged either. Finally, I agreed to go see him. Not because I want to forgive, not because I still have feelings, but just because I want to end everything clearly. I went to the prison where Trent was being held. Looking at him through the glass, I couldn't believe my eyes. Trent, emaciated, haggard, 10 years older than the last time I saw him. Eyes that were once full of ambition and arrogance are now all that remains regret and despair. He looked at me, then smiled faintly. I used to think I was the one who had it all, but it turns out I have nothing. I sat down and didn't respond. He continued, "I've done so many bad things to you, Eliza. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I still want to say sorry. For the first time in many years, I felt a little sincerity in Trent's words. He was no longer the man who always thought he was right and always tried to manipulate others. He was just a man facing the end, realizing he had lost what was most important. I took a deep breath, then said slowly, "You hurt me a lot. You betrayed me, cheated on me, caused me and my children to suffer. But I'm not angry with you anymore, not because you deserve forgiveness, but because I deserve peace." Trent bowed his head. I stood up and looked at him. "Goodbye, Trent. I hope you will find peace." And then I walked out, leaving the past behind me forever. After that meeting, I realized I had truly let go of all resentment. I didn't hate Trent anymore. I no longer worried about what happened. I had truly moved on. One day, while organizing a sharing session about legal rights for women, I received an unexpected offer. A non-profit organization invited me to become a counselor for women experiencing domestic violence. They said my story inspired many people. I looked back at my life and smiled. From a controlled, betrayed, abandoned woman, I had stood up and become someone who could help others. I didn't just save myself, I was saving other women, and that was the most meaningful thing I could do. The first few weeks at the organization were overwhelming. Hearing other women share their pain, their fears, their shattered self-worth, reminded me of my past self. Some were too scared to leave. Others felt they had no choice but to stay, and some had already made the brave step to escape, but were still battling their inner demons. I listened, comforted, and guided them, not with pity, but with the wisdom of someone who had been in their shoes. I saw their hesitation, their flickers of hope, their slow transformation. It was the most fulfilling work I had ever done. One afternoon, while sitting in a familiar coffee shop, a man approached my table. He smiled. "Eliza, is that you?" I raised my head and realized it was Daniel, an old friend from college. We used to be very close, but after I married Trent, I had almost lost touch with all my friends. Daniel was still the same, warm, sincere, and always with understanding eyes. We started talking, and I realized it had been a long time since I had laughed so freely. No pressure, no control, no fear of being judged. just a person who truly listened to me and appreciated me for who I was. I didn't know if I was ready for love or not, but I knew one thing. I deserved to be happy, and this time, I wouldn't rush. I would choose someone who truly valued me, not someone who just wanted to own me. The more time I spent with Daniel, the more I realized how different this was from my past. There were no games, no manipulation, no walking on eggshells, just genuine care, deep conversations, and a kind of companionship I had never experienced before. Still, I took things slowly. I had spent years rebuilding myself, and I wouldn't let anyone shake that foundation. For the first time in my life, I was enough on my own. I focused on my work, helping women find their strength, educating them about their rights, and creating a support system for those who had nowhere to turn. With each woman I helped, I saw a piece of my old self in them, and with each success story, I felt a part of me healing too. 7 years ago, I was a woman controlled, pressured, betrayed. 7 years ago, I thought my life ended when my marriage collapsed. But I was wrong. My life truly began when I stood up for myself. I had lost a lot of things, but I had also found myself again, and that was the most important thing. Now I don't need anyone to define my worth anymore. I didn't need a man to feel complete. I was no longer a victim to anyone. I was the one who held my own destiny. I had once chosen patience. Now I chose freedom. I had once chosen sacrifice. Now I chose myself. I had once chosen suffering. Now I chose happiness. And this was the life I deserved.